There was a little confusion about the fact of free will versus karma as to whether you have no choices at all and you're just following a script and you can't do anything about it, or whether you can alter the course along the way somehow.
Supposing the script says that at that point you will be required to make a choice and you will be given these options and choices. The script says you have to think hard and argue to yourself and with your friends what choice to make. And the script gives all the details of your discussions with them. And then you will at last heave a sigh of relief that you have taken a decision. And the script says all this. Now when you go through it, do you have free will or no?
It appears like you have free will.
What else do we know about free will? Except that it appears to be there. So that's free will. If the script determines, because we don't have access to the script. Supposing we got the script in our pocket, then we have no free will. Because then we can read the script and say, no, I'm not making any decision, it's already made. But supposing I don't have the script with me, and I go through the script the same way, I have free will. What's the difference in the two situations? When you have the script, you lose the knowledge of free will by knowing in advance what you are going to decide by so-called free will, so the free will is not real. If you don't have the script and go through it, the free will is as real as if you really had it. There could be no difference because you will not act differently if you had a choice. So, does it mean that the knowledge of the script takes away free will? The answer is yes, unless you are also the script writer. But supposing you are also the script writer and you can change the script, you again get back free will. What is the position here in our situation? Our reality, our ultimate reality, which is the very basis of our existence, is the totality of consciousness, which is otherwise called God, the Creator. That is our reality. That reality writes the script, can change the script, can modify the script, can rewrite the script, can do anything. Therefore, that ultimate reality of the self has full free will because it knows what it's doing. Then comes the subservient realities which cover us up, like the mental reality. Our mental reality says, I can do it, but I don't know what the script is. I really don't know. I have to make up my mind now. In this reality, which is the human reality, we again get a free will. The first free will of God is because of knowledge. God knows what He's writing. Our free will is because of ignorance. We don't know what He wrote, which means our own real self wrote. So the human free will is arising from ignorance. The divine free will comes from knowledge. The surprising denouement takes place in the spiritual journey when we find both are the same. Then do we have free will or no?
As from the highest level of consciousness, I definitely have free will.
Highest level we have free will. Lowest level we have free will. In between we don't. That's the truth. In the spiritual journey also that's what happens. From where we start, the human form, this is by the way not the lowest form. We call it the lowest form in terms of the classification we have arbitrarily done of physical, astral, causal, spiritual, total. It's an arbitrary classification. Mind likes it. I am doing this classification because mind likes it. Not because it has anything to do with the importance or unimportance of reality. It's quite possible from God's point of view, He might say, I don't think the astral stage, gravity-free stage of flying out in the sky is a real good deal. I don't think knowing the universal mind and being able to read everybody's mind and being able to communicate telepathically is a very big deal. I don't think finding out that you are not mind and you are a spirit and you are full of love is a very big deal. I don't think even finding out that you are God is a very big deal. God might say, I think the big deal is that you can be human and pretend to be God. That will be the best deal. That you can be human, following the script I wrote, and you can presume that you are acting out free will. This must be the best deal. Actually, when a comparison is made of our different states, the human being in the physical body, compare this being with other beings, living things, or things which have consciousness. Birds, animals, angels, gods, disembodied spirits, high guiding spirits in the hierarchy, the various rulers of different regions of the higher levels, put all of them together. Trees, plants, every kind of living conscious thing that you can assume, presume, imagine, conceive of, experience, put them all together and compare them. And then say, which is the best out of these? Surprisingly, you will come to the finding that the human being in physical form is the best. Why? With all these problems, mind, entanglements, illusion looking like real, why is the human being probably the best? In fact, in my judgment, it is the best, not probably. It is the best. Why? Because of its kinship, similarity with the ultimate creator. And the greatest similarity is the experience of free will. There's no one else in this whole universe who has that experience, except God, the creator, and a human being in physical form. Therefore, it is said that man, which means the human being in physical form, has been made in the image of the creator. There's nothing else that is more in the image, more directly similar to the creator than the human being in physical form. And the thing that distinguishes him is free will. Free will is a very interesting subject. I often remember my friend from Harvard, from Boston, he was living in Boston, who used to examine this question of free will. And he used to be member of the Boston Yoga Center. He did many things with those old professors, Timothy Leary, Richard Alpert, Baba Ram Das, and the founder of the Boohoo Church, and the experimenters with the drugs in the 60s. Those people, they tried all kinds of ventures into different kind of experiences, finding truth through different experiences, getting a kick out of truth. So it was a lot of kick out of unusual, novel experience, but not out of truth. Truth lay somewhere else. But they tried. And at that time, this particular friend of mine, he made a lot of study, and he came to the conclusion, as I've narrated before, that he has no free will. So he came to me one day in Cambridge, and he shouted, "Eureka!" What is it, Eureka? Eureka, Eureka. Eureka, I found. Ultimately, I found out that we have no free will. And he found out by a very simple logical deduction. It was so simple and obvious that we should have realized long ago. And that was, if there is a God, a creator, who is omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient. Omniscient means all-knowing, who knows our past, present, and future. And he already knows what we are going to do tomorrow. We could have no free will. That's very simple. If there is a God and he already knows what we are going to do, how can we have free will? Because what we think we are going to do, he already knows. Therefore, human beings have no free will. He came to a very simple conclusion. But he was very happy with the conclusion. And he came to me, said, I found out we have no free will at all. All that knowledge which we were being given, limited free will, illusion of free will, some scope of free will to create karma, was nonsense. We cannot have free will. If we have free will, there can be no God. He has not shared that freedom with anyone. If he had shared that freedom, he could not be omniscient, could not be all-knowing. If he left the choice to any individual, you can make a decision tomorrow what you like, then he doesn't know what the decision is. If he knows, he has given nothing. He's planted the decision in advance. Therefore, there could be no all-knowing God if there is any free will here, and if he has given free will, he has cancelled his own freedom. So that was a very logical thing. So I said, to calm him down, I offered him on a tray a cup of coffee and a cup of tea. And I said, my friend, will you take tea or coffee or neither? Tell me, but don't use your free will because you don't have any. And he couldn't answer. I said, now if you say coffee, that means you have choice. If you say tea, you have choice. If you say, I don't want any, you have a choice. After thinking for a little while, he said, I came out with such a big eureka, such a big knowledge. And now you demolished it with a cup of tea and coffee? What is this? And I said, the choice is real. Once we are confronted with these options, they are real. Tea, coffee, neither. These three alternatives that stare you in the face today are real and are already demolishing your conclusion that you have no free will. Not only do you have free will, man, you are trapped in free will. You can't get out of it now. Whatever you say will be an exercise of your free will. If you say, I don't want to say anything, it's also out of your free will. In fact, when you came running to me and said, I found out I have no free will, you said it out of your free will. You could have said, I have free will. You could have said, I don't have free will. And you came running to me to exercise your free will. How can you say you have no free will? So he was very confused. He said, all that knowledge and knowledge about God and His will and now my free will, you confused me. And I said, look, I might have confused you by pointing out that you are trapped in free will. But to cheer you up, I should tell you my own conviction, my real conviction. That is the same as your conclusion that we have absolutely no free will. He said, what about the tea and coffee? I said, that is very simple. When you are asked to choose freely between tea and coffee, how do you choose freely? What's the meaning of free choice? Free choice means in your mind, a rumbling starts, a decision-making starts, and you start saying, should I take tea or coffee, tea or coffee? You begin to choose between the two, and you prefer one over the other. And then you choose. How does that preference take place? The preference takes place by factors already embedded in your memory and subconscious memory of the past, depending upon whether your father, grandfather was a coffee drinker. The genes might have conveyed the preference to you. Or you have lived in the company of tea drinkers and you have acquired that taste. Therefore, the exposure environment of tea drinkers has made you a tea drinker today. The point is, when you choose freely, you are really employing these factors of choice which already exist in your head somewhere. And then you say, I freely choose coffee. But the point is that when you make the choice now, all these factors of choice, whether inherited, hereditary, genetic, or environmental, acquired by company, all the factors of choice that makes you take this decision today are already fixed. You can't change them. Therefore, if I were to feed those factors of choice, those preferences into a computer, before you can decide whether to take tea or coffee, the computer will whisper to me, after all that he's going to take only coffee. He has no choice. Because his so-called free will operates under factors of choice which guide him only to one course. Therefore, you are tied down and bound by these factors of choice. How are you free? He said, then what determines this? I said, the exposure to environment is determined by the previous environment. Today's cup of tea will be an addition to your tea drinking environment. Yesterday's cup of tea added on to your predisposition to take tea. Go backwards, ultimately you go to the point of birth, and your birth determined your genetic preferences. You had no choice in choosing where to be born. Therefore, nothing was in your hands. And yet you felt you had free will. What is this game that in fact we have no free will and it looks like we have free will? What is this illusion? The illusion that we have free will and the reality that there is no free will. This is a great illusion. This is called the grand illusion. In fact, it's the grandest illusion I have ever come across. There are many illusions. People make you see things which don't exist and so on. People make you imagine you are different than you are. All kinds of illusions we live in every day. But the grandest illusion is that having no free will, we actually feel we have a free will. This grand illusion leads to all the other illusions, such as there is a law of karma, that there is reincarnation, that there is time, that we go over and over again, that this world is a continuum of millions of years and we are in great distress because of this. We have to find a way out. We have to become a spiritual seeker. We have to discover our real home. A wide screen of total creation from the Creator down to here. The answer will be yes, it's still worthwhile. Why? Because apart from creating all these problems of decision making and its repercussions, it also enables you to experience seeking and love. Supposing you lost this free will, you would also lose that. The rewards of seeking and love, the rewards of seeking and love and thereby overcoming loneliness far outweighs the disadvantages that we have talked of earlier. Therefore, when the Creator set up the show and provided this loophole, retaining the real free will of writing the script and modifying it when he likes according to his mauj, the word we use in India is mauj, which means free will, arbitrary, playful free will. That word, one word, mauj, translates into a number of English words. You can't have one word. People say it's God's will, but will is too stern, as if he's a very stern God. He's not stern. If you look at life and look at this world, he must be playful. He couldn't be stern all the time. Therefore, this word mauj has been translated as arbitrary, free, playful will. That is how he has written the script. And having written it, he has provided the same kind of free will covered under the illusion of human free will. So the human being, which is also the same power acting from a point of view, begins to be a seeker. And this seeking of the Lord and finding the Lord overcomes loneliness of the Lord. Because people don't want to give any negative connotation to a creator. Because they have already been sufficiently trained by the mind to put everything in good and bad. Everything must be either good or bad, so God must be good. Bad things he couldn't have done. Well, he didn't. He set up somebody else to do it. He said, let the devil do that. I don't want to be responsible for it. But he set up the devil. He made him. He made him as an archangel and threw him down into hell to do his job. The point is, we don't want to look at it like this. We say God has to be good at all times. Therefore, the adversary has to be found. The mind teaches us to find polarity in everything, including the ultimate creator of the whole show. Therefore, it's very difficult for us to give this attribute to God. But even if we give the best attributes, what is like to be God or to become one with God or to be in His presence or to merge with Him? How would you feel if you just became God? You would become full of bliss, full of happiness, full of contentment, full of joy, full of loneliness. People don't add this last sentence. But if there's only one and only one real, how will you avoid that? If God were more than one, then one could understand He has company. But supposing He's only one, and He one alone exists, it's not that He is existing for a time. Supposing the reality is, and we come to the stark reality one day, that ultimately nothing else exists. It's all a shadow play. It's all illusion. The only reality is the existence of a single oneness, one consciousness called God. You'd start having sympathy for that God. You must be very lonely. Indeed, this creation of the many is a justification of this premise that He must be lonely. And it's a permanent creation. In this creation, not only has He permanently made the drama of the many, He has made the drama of His real nature of love perfect. Because from the vantage point of the free will of illusion of a human being, He has made it possible to seek, to love, to have devotion, and ultimately reach one's own fullness, and then again start the show all over again, and have a continuous show going on. If one wants to look at perfection in creation, this is perfection. I challenge any one of you to sit down one day and examine the nature of this creation and come up with a suggestion to make it more perfect. You'll have a very hard time. All the so-called negativity of this world has to be put there to create the positivity. All the manyness of illusion has to be there to create to overcome the loneliness of the one. The whole thing, all the levels of creation, to sustain the illusion and yet go to reality stage by stage is necessary to overcome the descent from the oneness into the illusion in which we are placed. When we see a part of this creation, it looks imperfect. When you see the whole of this creation, it is perfect. Nothing could be more perfect. He has done a good job. And the one thing he has used to perfection is the experience of free will. Remember, free will is not so important as the experience of free will. And he has given that only to two. One for himself and one to a human being. Nobody else has it. That is why in the law of karma, we talk of two kinds of karma. The karma of action and the karma of reaction. The karma where we can create more karma and the karma where we are paying off previous karma. Except in human life, in every other life, we pay off karma. Animals can't sin, animals can't create karma, animals can't do evil, animals can't be rewarded, animals have to just live up their instinctive rewards. According instinctive punishments, instinctive rewards, instinctive life. It's only the human being who deliberates. He's been given a free will in his mind. He says, should I or should I not? Should I or should I not? Is it high or low? These judgmental deliberations that take place only take place in a physical human being. They don't even take place in a non-physical human being. Supposing a human being rose to a higher level, say to the Akashic record level, the causal level, he could see the whole past, present, future. He would know what he will do by free will. He loses free will and therefore loses this particular benefit. Therefore, this great gift that has been given to the human being, making it next to God, is the gift of the experience of free will. It doesn't matter if it's real or not real. When we do not know the script and we have to make a decision, it's as good as there being no script. It's only when we know there is a script that we destroy our free will. So as human beings, we are not handed down the script. By the time we get the script, we have assumed another role, not a human role. So the system is working beautifully. Right now, it is important to understand that while free will creates karma, free will also creates seeking. When we seek within our heart, we like to seek with intensity. We want to cry for the Lord. We want to welcome Him. We have devotion in our heart. We want to serve Him, appreciate Him, thank Him. These would not be possible if that feeling of free will were not there. So free will, in that sense, although an illusion, is a very effective aid for spiritual seeking. And that's how we are supposed to use it. I could keep on more and more on the subject of free will. I think this is enough for this moment, that free will is illusion. It looks real in ignorance. It becomes real in knowledge. And we should use it while we are here and while the going is good. Which means while the free will experience is going on, let's use it like that. When we find out later on that what we thought we decided had already been decided, it will make us laugh, not make us cry.